I am Victoria Yassem. I'm the founder and president of Redwell Consultants. We're a digital marketing agency and consulting firm right out of Harford County. We have an office in Forest Hill. So Natalie reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in going through the process to see if I would be a good fit for Email Marketing 101. And it's definitely one of the things that my company does, so I'm very familiar with it. Hopefully I don't talk your all's ear off. And like Natalie said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to interrupt me, put it in the chat. Heather and Nat, I'm guessing, will help me with that because I can't read all of the things all the time. But hopefully everyone can see my screen. So we're just going to go ahead and dive right into it. Now, can you guys see the video at the bottom? Like, do you see yourselves looking at this? No, it's just the presentation. Okay. All right. So what will the blonde girl be covering today? So setting up your email system and delivering your actual email campaigns. And here's the rules, right? So every presentation that I do, I want to make sure that I have some rules for people to follow, and there's only 2. So stop me if you have a question. Chances are someone else has the exact same question. And if I ask a question and no one answers, I will pick on you. I will pick on someone. So the more you speak, the more interactive this presentation is going to be, and the less you have to listen to me sit here and talk about all the things. So any questions so far? Think we're good. All right, so why email marketing is vital. So here's a couple things that or a couple reasons why you should be doing email marketing. So you can stay in touch with your customers, you can reach customers in real time, and you can get actual analytics for it, which we'll touch on during this presentation as well. It's affordable. Almost everyone uses email. And does anyone else know why email marketing is important? Rachel, I'm going to pick on you to give me some.
I knew you were going to pick on me first. Let's see. Yeah, I was mainly thinking because you can create kind of a database on who you've hit. And so you can see, all right, this is the last time I've talked to somebody. Might be time to poke my head back in and get your face back out there again.
Right. That's a good point. Does anyone else have any other thoughts?
A lot of people don't like you just walking into their offices anymore because not a lot of them are in their offices anymore.
That's a really good point too. And so to kind of go off of that, when you walk into someone's office and they don't know who you are, they're just like, who is this person? Like, why are you talking to me? Right. But so email helps build brand recognition. It also helps build credibility to your prospects and your current clients. Right. So anyone else have any other thoughts on why it's important? All right. So emails can actually help increase your sales by like 20%, which is crazy because it's so affordable. And if you're on top of it and you do all of the right things, you know, it can absolutely help. So that's another reason that it's super vital to what you're doing. So we're going to go ahead and get into like the meat and potatoes of all this, right? So setting up your email system. Who here sends emails right now? I can't see anybody's face, but does anyone want to speak up?
I don't send, we have like a marketing team that sends out the emails, but we provide the contacts for which the emails go to.
Okay. So you don't actually send the emails, Rach?
No, they come from our marketing team.
Ashley, what about you? What do you do?
I do. I just send an email directly to somebody like that I have that's in my contact list. And now 90% of those are people that already know who I am.
Okay. And that's a good point.
Yeah. It's like one of those things where you're just continually keeping in touch with them because they've said, okay, well, yeah, well, not right now, or give me some information or whatever. So yeah, I'm interested to see how it would work for people that don't know you from Adam.
So there's a couple different ways that you can do it. Those emails, more of the sales one-on-one emails, are a little bit different than what I'm going over today. These are more email blast relevant, at least the first part of the presentation. The second part of the presentation, you can absolutely use that when you're sending one-on-one emails. I've got 15 years of sales and marketing experience, so I've done a ton of cold emails, and I've been able to actually get back some decent responses. So we can dive into that too in the second part. Just if you have any questions in the meantime, just feel free to ask. But so this part over here is talking more about like email blasts, right? So setting up your email system, and how do you get emails in the first place, right? If you're a business owner or an operator, it's your job to start building that customer list and that prospect list. So how do you do it? Two things. You make it super easy for people to sign up to your email list, and you make your opt-in bribe relevant and enticing. So what does that mean, right? What does that mean, little blonde girl? So whichever options you decide to do, just make it super simple. People are dealing with so much noise on a regular basis. I'm personally a business owner as well, and I have a 3-year-old at home. I don't want to think about anything extra, right? If I want to get in touch with someone, or if I want to get on their email list, it's for a couple of reasons. Because I want something from them, or I want to keep up to date with their brand, right? Under Armour is a perfect example for me. Like, I love Under Armour. I want to get the coupons. I want to get the sales. I want to see when stuff is going on clearance and whatever, right? So that's why I sign up for their emails. But what are some other like opt-in bribes? And when I say that, I mean like, what can you ask these people who are inputting their email into your database or into your website? Like, what can you offer them? Does anyone have any ideas, or do you need some examples? Chip, you have a cat, so I'm going to pick on you.
Well, like you said, specials, value add information that they may not know, maybe current events in your industry or in your area of expertise.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna, oh, sorry. I was
go
gonna
ahead,
say
Rach.
the same thing as Chip. We just try to put in information that would be helpful, not necessarily like our services, but yeah, this is what's going on. These are the new updates. This is what you should kind of look out for.
That's all really good. You can do get 10% off your next purchase with this code, and you get the code by putting your email in. I personally am a sucker for that one all the time. But there's also getting free content, getting special group privileges, and we're going to get into that a little bit more in the next slide. So things you can do to grow your email list, right? This is kind of getting into some of the enticing things. You can do a giveaway. You can say you have access to this private community. You are offering a webinar. So literally just how Natalie got all of you guys here, actually, we're sending out a mass email. And so we have a webinar for emails. Go ahead and input your information. And then, that's how she can stay in contact with you. Doing a list of resources is really good too. So depending on what industry you're in, if you are a plumber, right, you could send out an email where it's like the top 5 Harford County small business services you could look at, right? Or something along those lines, where you can list like top 5 of your favorite businesses in Harford. And a lot of the times, like top 5s, and we'll get into the title of the email here soon, but being very enticing, like these are, and getting content that you can only get when you put your email into this database, is definitely a way to start building the database, right? So splitting a blog post in half, I thought was really creative. So if you have blogs on your website, putting half one up, and then you put the email, like you have to say like sign up to get the rest of the blog post. Doing YouTube, if you want access to a YouTube channel, you could do it that way. Toolkits. So there's always like a whole bunch of other ideas, but does anyone have any other ideas that they want to add that maybe I didn't bring up? Because there's a ton of stuff out there. Whoops. Okay. Clearly I can't operate a PowerPoint. So sorry about that, guys. So where to put your sign up form, right? So everyone has been on a website before, I'm guessing. And on everyone's website, it says like, contact us for more information, sign up for our email list, this, that, and the other. Like, where do you put it? Where are you supposed to put this? Where is it strategically supposed to go so people see it and it's easy for them? The homepage is always a really good option. The top of the sidebar, putting it in a blog post, like I had just mentioned. Your about page is really good too. And my favorite, not so favorite, are the ones that pop up when you get right to a website. But what else have you guys seen out there? I know I'm not the only one on websites.
Yeah, I hate the pop-up. I can't stand the pop-up.
Unless it's like 20% off your entire purchase, I hate it too.
I'm like, yeah, don't know. If I want to do that, I will do it. I'm trying to read,
Yeah.
get off my page.
Yeah. And like they'll let you sit there for a couple minutes and then they'll pop it up too. I get them all the time for like newspapers where it's like you have to sign up for an account to finish reading the article.
Yes.
Those are super fun, but at the end of the day, I wind up signing up for the account if I want to read the article. So it's effective, right? But what else? What else have you guys seen? Megan, how about you? I don't know if you're still on here.
I'm still here. Well, I know we were actually at an event and just having a physical sign up sheet there too with something with a sign, like enticing them that way.
Yeah, I love that. Anyone else have any other thoughts? Like Heather and Nat?
Yeah, we actually, at a recent event that we had, there was a sponsor there who was doing a giveaway. So they had the basket and you had to scan the QR code and enter your information in order to enter into the giveaway.
I love a QR code. I love a QR code. I think that's so like it's so easy for people because nobody carries paper, and if you carry paper, you probably lose it. So QR codes are a great way to get people to sign up for your email list as well. All right, so what to think about when choosing an email provider. So when I'm talking about email providers, I'm talking about like, and the next slide is just some options, but like your MailChimps, your Constant Contacts, like all of that kind of stuff, right? And what people don't realize is they hear these big names and they don't understand what they need to be thinking about before they pick the actual provider, because it's like buying a car, right? Like, you need a car, but do you need to have heated seats and a heated steering wheel with it? Or are you okay with the basic model? And like, depending on what you need, you might need more seats than, originally what you have. And so looking at the integration, right? So if you're a business owner or operator, chances are, that you have a CRM or not. Even sales reps, like I think Rage, I think you've mentioned you have CRM at your job. But essentially what it is customer management system, right? So you put your leads in there, you put your customers in there, and it's a good way to keep all of them in one place. Some email platforms you can integrate with CRMs, and that's kind of what you need to check out, right? So if you're spending a lot of money on a CRM and keeping it active, you don't want to make your job that much harder by using an email platform that doesn't integrate with what you currently have. Reading and viewing options are really important because you have to make sure that it's mobile friendly. I have a couple examples a little bit farther down the line of like actually my inbox with like all of like the emails that I have in it, but making sure that the platform that you choose is mobile friendly and it's easy to maintain that way as well. And then response handling. This one's important because you don't ever want to just leave a client or a prospect hanging, right? So will the software allow you to send an automated email if you can't get to it right away? And those are all things that you need to be thinking about when you're looking into an actual platform or software to use. So here's some options that I found online. I've personally used Constant Contact and MailChimp. Are they the best thing ever? Not necessarily, but it all breaks down into what you need it for. So ConvertKit, ActiveCampaign, Drip, HubSpot I've used before as well. But again, you just have to do your due diligence and make sure that before you start dropping all this money on an email platform, or you start investing your time, which is just as important as money, that you're making sure that it's what you need, right? So I wrote this presentation, and I'm sure everyone has seen that TikTok where it's like, let's skip to the good part. Yeah, that was literally my mindset as I was putting this together. When you run a digital marketing firm, the things that go through your head sometimes. So I want to go ahead and just wrap that first part up. Does anybody have any questions about just like the management system or how to like start getting emails in general? Did it make sense? Was this helpful? Feedback is always a good thing for me.
Yes, it made sense.
Sorry, I should use the raise the hand feature. One thing I'm not
Okay.
well averse. Just from personal experience, from some of the interactions that we have with some of our members, sometimes I always like to bring it up to clarify, because it's something I kind of had to educate myself on in terms of the proper way, I guess, to gather emails. So, there's no legality that really says how you can get them. It's more of at least having to give the option of opting out. So I didn't know if you
Right.
could speak on that really quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good point. These software platforms, they usually do have the option for you to put on your email or email blast that you can opt out for it. Legally, when you're sending emails, you do have to have an opt-out version. Now, I think it was Ashley who was talking about sending like sales emails. If you send a specific email to someone, I don't think that you need to have an opt-out option for that because it's just directly going to somebody. But with these mass emails, I do know 100% that legally you do have to have an opt-out option. It's usually just like unsubscribe or opt out or something like that, but the platform can do it for you. Do not go buy email lists and put them in there. That is a good way to do nothing with your money. Like if people don't give you their email, chances are like they don't really want to be contacted by you. And a lot of the times when you look at like analytics, you're sending out like thousands of emails and maybe you get like 10 replies. Well, you're essentially with these platforms, most of them you pay by the email that you have in there. So if you're like between 1 and 100, this is your fee for per month. If you have between 100 and 500, this is, you know what I mean? So if you're just like paying for extra emails that aren't even worth it, it's definitely not worth your time. But I think I saw Megan or Ashley take off mute. Did you guys have a question?
No, my cat walked across the desk and hit it.
Sorry. All right, so we're going to move to the second half. Again, if anyone has questions, please stop me. And sorry, I keep changing my head. I keep having to move the Zoom thing so I can see the presentation, but this is going to be how you craft your email campaigns. So the biggest thing that I preach on, any webinar that I've ever done, all I preach about is your avatar and knowing your target market, right? So when you're sending out these emails, it can be these individual sales email, it can be mass emails, it can be to current members, it can be to whoever. You can't just send out information and hope that they click on it. It has to be relevant and it has to make sense, right? So if you are working with a business owner or you're emailing people in the digital marketing field or something like that, top 5 easiest platforms to use or top 5 tricks for TikTok, like I'll click on that all day, every day, right? So it's getting to know, and you're going to probably have to send out multiple email campaigns, but for these one like sales ones that we were talking about earlier, know who you're sending it to, right? So if I'm prospecting Heather, I know what she does for a living. She's the VP of the chamber. So what am I going to send her that shows that I'm credible, shows that I'm not spammy, and is going to get her to click on it? Does anyone want to take a guess? Anyone? Great.
Let's see, maybe something chamber related, like putting the word chamber in the email.
Yeah, that's a good one. So doing that, or it could be something along the lines of we've unlocked how to grow your organization's membership, right? Or something like that. So it's really kind of getting to know your avatar. So if you're sending out emails to business owners, think about like what is going to make their life easier. What are they going to click on, right? So this is very important because the content that you're going to create is super relevant to this whole process. If your content's not there, it's a waste of time. If you're doing B2C stuff like business to consumer, who are you sending it to? If you're sending it to like Chip, right? He deals with debt management. The easiest way to get out of debt. People click on that all day, every day, right? So it's figuring out like who you're sending these emails to and the content that's relevant. Because if they open your email, content's not relevant, it just does not make you look credible, and chances are they're not going to be a conversion for you. So figuring out who they are, what is their driving force to buy, what are their pain points? Does anyone want to tell me about their target market?
Well, right now for us, we're really targeting the auto industry. So we have put out, if you send us your invoice, your payroll invoice, we will guarantee that we'll reduce it by 25% for the first year. So we're targeting specifically people in the auto industry as to like boost the backbone of our economy.
Okay. And what kind of content do you think they would want to see?
I would assume they'd be, they like, we put like auto images in there to appeal to them. And yeah, I'm trying to think what else was in the ad, but stuff that's relevant to them.
Right. It doesn't even have to necessarily be payroll oriented completely.
Right.
Right. So for what we do, I could say something along the lines of how to close a sale quicker, or best ways to take pictures for your Instagram. Like it doesn't have to be like directly 100% related to payroll. But just kind of like the whole point of this presentation is to really hopefully get everyone on here to start thinking about some of the things that they can do. But so like for your content reach, I mean, you could even put like voted best tires or something, or like easy way to find mechanics, or this place is having a career fair, because that's so hard for people right now, right? Especially in the auto industry, is finding people to actually work on said cars.
Right.
But thinking outside the box to be a resource. And that's something that I preach. And I preach that to people who I network with, who I work with, who I do social media for. Because if you don't know what you don't know as a customer. And so educating your customers and your prospects is going to be super helpful for these email campaigns. So
Can I ask?
Oh yeah, go
Sorry, I
ahead.
have a quick one. So speaking of that, we have two different clientele. So we're a speech therapy business, but
Mhm.
we go for adults and children. So pediatrics, how would that, like, what would you suggest? Like,
Yeah,
it's
that's a
two
good
different
question.
populations.
That's a good question. One of the things I would probably say for adults is dealing with their pain points, right? So what are some pain points of adults who come to you? Like, why are they coming to you?
So we get a lot of swallowing or cognitive voice.
Okay. Are they coming to you on their own account, or is somebody bringing them to you?
Both.
Okay.
So we'll get referrals and they go on their own as well.
Okay. So, well, I guess when I say is someone bringing them to you, like, are they, do they need special care to actually physically get to where you are?
Some of them, yes.
Okay. So this is where kind of like breaking it down a little bit, because you are very niche. So if you're targeting the caretakers, what is some content that you can create for them? If you are targeting the actual pediatric side, then you're targeting their parents, because kids don't have email. I mean, mine probably does, but she's only 3, so who knows? But totally kidding, by the way. If you guys saw my kid, she's crazy. But so me and you can definitely sit down and kind of come up with a couple different ideas. And a little bit later in the presentation, I do have a section for brainstorming, but you do bring up a good point. So
I just 2 different email blasts is what I'm guessing would have to happen.
You're probably going to want to do a couple, right? So when I tell people to niche down and figure out their avatar, it doesn't mean that's the only person you can target, right? So I remember seeing a commercial, God, this was like 15 years ago. And I'm sorry, Heather and Nat, I think you guys have heard me say this like 15 times in various groups, but there's a commercial I saw for Cheerios, right? It was an African-American grandpa and a baby, and they're in the high chair and they're playing with the Cheerios and eating them and stuff, right? For some reason, that commercial resonated with me, but I was not their target market. I didn't have a kid at the time. I wasn't married. I sure as hell was not a grandmother, or grandfather for that matter. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't resonate with you, right? So if you're trying to put a bigger push on caretakers or actual adults, so it's creating content that's going to get people to click on it. So with that being said, if you wanted to do something along the lines of pediatrics, you would be targeting the parents, but it doesn't mean that the other people on your email list wouldn't still resonate with that email campaign. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that helpful at all?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. My contact information is going to be at the end, and Natalie and Heather can always get it to you too if you have questions. I have no problem sitting down and brainstorming like after this. But how often should you be sending emails? I have clients that reach out to us and they're like, oh, just like once a month. Yeah, no. In in today's world, there's so much noise. And how do we break through that? Right? How do we stay top of mind? Because that's sales 101. We do business with people we know, like, and trust. Well, this is your clients getting to know you and your prospects getting to know you on a regular basis. You know, it's brand recognition, it's getting your communication out there, it's making sure they're up to date with what's going on in your industry or their industry. But 1 to 3 times a week is probably ideal. On the low end, 1 time a week. Now this is not talking about the sales email, the one-off sales email that we had mentioned earlier. Those have a different cycle, which Ashley, we can touch on in a little bit, but those are not, if you send people emails one-offs like that 3 times a week, they're gonna probably tell you to go somewhere, because that's a lot, right? But it all depends on what you're doing. So if you're just sending them content that says like, hey, here's what's going on in your industry, that might be okay. But we'll get there in a second. So don't send like salesy emails 3 times a week is what I'm trying to say. So content is king, right? Creating content that's compelling and warrants an open that warrants an open email. So who wants to come up with a couple different content ideas that you could send for your business?
The myths about student loan forgiveness.
Yeah, that would be a big one. Anyone else?
Are you tax compliant in all the states that your employees work in?
That's really good too. Ashley, how about you?
Ironically enough, the biggest thing we face is people clicking on stuff they're not supposed to click on. So it's very ironic that you're sending an email with the information in it, but yeah, it's not anything that they have to click on. It's right there. Like, oh, this is, you be careful of this now.
Yeah. Anyone else?
You could talk about fraud, how prevalent it is in whatever industry you're in.
I mean, there's a million different ways that you can take it, but keeping it relevant to either your prospect or client's industry, or your own industry is going to be vital, right? If you're in social media, it doesn't make sense to send out something about automotive to someone who does debt management. Like, it really just doesn't make sense, right? So keeping it relevant, and this is going to be the most compelling piece of everything. So any questions about that?
Yes, I know there might be some outlets, but what are good resources to get that content? I mean,
Sure.
obviously you've got some news, but if you really want to kind of drill down in, how do I find content that is digestible, that I can use to put out on a regular basis?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one of my favorite platforms is called Answer the Public. You can get I think it's 3 searches for free a day, or it's $100 a month for however many searches you want, right? So you can go search keywords or questions, and it's like the most asked questions on Google. So for social media content, we use that a lot. But it's an awesome platform. Going to Google and searching new trends. Believe it or not, if you're looking for like top 5 this or top 5 that, or like checklists are really good to send out too, especially to grab people's initial contact information. Pinterest is super helpful for inspiration for that kind of stuff. Answer the Public, I think, is probably, if we're talking like cost effective and easiest, that's probably where you want to start. And it gives you the Google link for everything. So if you search like social media, it'll give you a ton of like questions, and you can click on the question and it takes you right to Google. So they don't pay me to do ads for them, but if anyone knows anyone who works there, I'm very willing to do ads for them. But that's a good question. Does anyone else have any other places they found really good content ideas?
We have like payroll specific journals, or I guess like websites that we found. They come out once a month with like a newsletter kind of thing, and it's just like payroll industry as a whole, and there's some like good articles and reads in there. So we like subscribe to that kind of stuff. But I would imagine some like podcasts could be good to listen to and things of that nature.
Yeah, podcasts are super helpful. Heather, do you have anything?
Yeah, just for, I mean, I'm sure it's similar in many industries, but chamber industry, there's a lot of, we have associations that do help with putting out information because they do research relevant to chambers. We also are a member of some Facebook groups with pretty widely established, credible consultants in the chamber industry, and some of them have bundles that you can purchase that have content. So just kind of looking to some of those professionals right in line with like the podcast and relevant material.
Yeah, 100%. So Chamber's a good place to look at it. Venture Access, Natalie pumps some stuff out for more local things. The organizations that you're a part of, like if you're a part of Route 40 or I-95, or on the contractor side, there's ABC. I'm drawing a blank for the rest of them, but bigger organizations like that, like they usually pump out information throughout the month. So that's another good resource for sure. Does anyone else have any other thoughts on where you can find content? No? Okay. We'll keep it moving. So here's a couple different things that you can do to write a must-click email subject, right? That is the biggest part of this entire thing is getting that hook, right? So figuring out how to write email subject lines that are going to get people to click. And I know I kept saying this throughout the entire presentation, but you throw something where it's like the top 5 or the top 10 or 5 easy ways to do this and put a number on it, I'll click on that all day, every day. But I might not be your actual avatar. But so think about like, what are some things that you've clicked on, right? And I want to hear from like everyone. I know some people haven't really spoke much, but what are some emails that you get and you're just like, yep, I'm a sucker for this one. I'm going to click on it. You're on mute, Heather.
And I'm like somewhat talking to myself. I'm like, I just clicked on one yesterday. It was, hold on, I'm actually looking because I don't delete emails. I just file them appropriately. But it was a chamber specific. It was probably like, yeah, the ugly truth about paper billing. I clicked on that.
Right. But that's so compelling, right? Because you've got some really heavy words in there. You have the words ugly and you have the words truth. And so that right there is, I think that's phenomenal. Who else has clicked on something recently?
It's nothing.
Along with, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, so I was gonna say mine isn't anything work related, but like anything that is related to something that I'm interested in or my daughter is interested in, like I'll click on that. Like if there's any kind of sales on like horseback riding clothes or anything.
Oh yeah.
I will click on that.
100%.
Say like the ones that are like, don't miss because it's time sensitive, and then you're like, well, will this deal end if I don't click on it now?
Yes.
Or it's like T-5 hours until this deal ends, or and it's literally right on this slide, right? So creating a sense of urgency and creating FOMO, so fear of missing out, and time sensitive headlines, like click on this now, you don't want to miss this. Keeping it short and to the point, right? And so that's twofold, because people don't want to read long email titles, but also when you're on mobile, it only gives you about this much space. And then personalizing it. So this is something like Ashley is this Ashley from Red Warrior?
Yeah.
How did I not know that? So
I told you, because remember I asked you if it was 10 or 11 and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry, this is definitely being recorded right now, but sorry, Natalie. So for you to send out like your sales emails, 100% you're going to say hi so-and-so, right? So it's like personalized. In the subject line for what you're doing for that, I don't know if it would make sense. I would say try it and see what happens. But so for mass emails, like if you're using a MailChimp or a Constant Contact, it gives you the option to personalize it, right? And I've got a couple examples down the line a little bit, but it'll say like, Natalie, don't miss out on blah, blah, blah. Well, according to an article that I found online, you can actually increase your click-through rate by 14% and conversions by 10 by personalizing it, which is kind of crazy. But if you think about it, I mean, I know I do personally click on emails more so that have my name attached to them. So keeping them interested, right? When people subscribe to your email list, it's because they want to hear from you. So building it organically, like we talked about before, and not just buying insane amounts of emails, it's going to help you build your pipeline a little bit faster than hitting people with emails and brand recognition, right? Like if you have people that want to hear from you, like they literally did this because they want to hear from you. So doing personal stories, behind the scenes, stories that humanize the brand, things that make their life easier. So like for me personally, if you send me anything that has to do with like clean your house 10 times faster, or like, you know, things that have to do with mom, business owner, anything like that, like I will absolutely click on it, and it probably is spam. But I will click on it, right? So the thought process behind it just goes back to the previous slide, where you want to make sure you know your target market, and you can't just send out emails. The body of the email should have things that are relevant to your target market. Any questions on that?
So I guess it's like, you don't want to seem too spammy though, right? Because like some things you're like, oh, is this really getting sent out to just me, or is it everybody? You know, how do you where do you make that distinction of you want it to be eye-catching but not look like spam?
Right. And a lot of it has to do with the verbiage that you use. And some of it has to do with getting the analytics, which is at the end of the presentation, actually a couple slides down, I think, and kind of taking a look at those and seeing like what's working and what's not working, and then adjusting it. But we'll get to that point in a second. But yes, Rachel, 100%. Like you want that hook, you want people to see it and be like, oh my gosh, I have to click on this right now. But if you're too spammy or too like, look at this, it's a fine line, but I can honestly say you will get there. You just have to test out a couple different things.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping it easy to read once they actually click on your headline, right? So bolding or italicizing words, using bullet points, like you don't need to have like a giant novel in there, because chances are they're not going to read it. Using graphics, using videos, breaking up the paragraphs. Like think about what you would want to read if you were to open an email, right? You want to see something exciting, you want relevant things, you want it quick and to the point. Nobody has time to sit there and read a novel about a brand. So taking a look at your analytics, right? After you've sent the email, give it like 4 days, and then take a look at them. See what's working, see what's not working, see how many people have clicked on it, see how many people have actually like spent time on it, how many were sent out. And then you can kind of adjust from there. So here's a photo. Sorry, it's a little blurry. This is from Constant Contact under the reporting tab. So you can see you sent, the open rate, the click rate, which means they clicked on the links. And then down here, it gives you a little bit more information. So you can see which emails bounced. You can see which emails were successfully delivered. If they went to people's spam folders, if people unsubscribed, which don't get salty if someone unsubscribes from your email because it's not personal. I made the mistake one time and it bothered me. So it's not personal. And then you can see who didn't open it, right? So if you have a higher rate of people who didn't actually open the email, we need to change your title, right? So a lot of it's just trial and error. A lot of it's figuring it out. But if you go into it with the knowledge of how to do it, it's easier to navigate. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone have questions so far?
I have a quick question, comment.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, you sent out an email, check your analytics a couple days later. How often would you maybe recommend reusing maybe the same title or the same whatever it might be to see like, oh, maybe, was this a one-off people didn't really like, or is this to determine if it's a one-off or maybe it's a reoccurring theme of people don't like this kind of whatever?
Yeah, that's a good question. So if it's something that's working, I would say don't use it too often, maybe like once a week or once every other week. If you want to retest something, I would say get a couple good email campaigns before you reuse something that wasn't working previously. And I say that because I want to make sure like people are kind of looking out for your emails. Like I'm a part of organizations like the American Marketing Association. I'm like constantly on the lookout for their emails. But then there's certain emails that I know for a fact that like I don't care about that come into my inbox, right? So I would say give yourself a little bit of time to build up that credibility if something didn't work, and then try it again and change the verbiage just a little bit, and see how that performs. That answer your question?
Cool. Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Again, a lot of this is trial and error, right? So I pulled this email off of Google. I literally looked up like bad emails on Google, and this is one of the things that came up. So you can see who it's from. You can see the title up here. So I'm going to flip it to you guys, and I want you to tell me what's wrong with this email, like dissect it. I didn't write it, so y'all aren't going to hurt my feelings, but I want everyone to tell me like what's wrong with this email.
There's way too much information on there. I would never
Mhm.
even read past the second line.
Yeah. How about some of the people that have been on mute this whole time? Rod Bourne, if he's even still here. Nope. Okay. Anyone else?
Well, it's not personalized either. It's just move on member instead of saying,
Right. And
member
so
Rachel.
some of the ones that miss personalization, where it says like insert member and it like actually physically says that, like that's just something somebody missed on the platform. So it's like not paying attention to detail, right?
Mhm.
All right, what else? There's something else really big on here too that I'm not a fan of.
I feel like it's so like obviously you would bold things. Like I know I tend to bold things when I really want them to be stressed, but then when you have like multiple bolds, like you're losing the whole point of it.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
I don't know if it's just because I don't have my reading glasses at the moment, but it looks really small.
It like I don't know exactly what that
Like
type
font
font
wise.
is,
Yeah.
but I would agree with that. And I think a lot of it has to do with the way that the paragraphs are formed too. Like he's got a lot of like one sentence paragraphs. But it's just not visually appealing, right? It doesn't have graphics, doesn't have any videos, it's not catching my eye. And like, let's talk about the title for a second, right? It's just Greece. So unless somebody is expecting an email about Greece, like I'm not gonna click on that. I'm gonna think that it's spam, right? So it's probably gonna go to my spam box. So this is my actual inbox, and I want you guys to take a look at some of these titles. You don't have to pay too much attention to the company, but let's look at some of these titles, right? So Baltimore Business Owners Networking and Training Group in 1 hour or less, ask me anything. That's all I read, right? I don't know what the rest of this says. I don't really care. But Baltimore Business Owners Networking and Training Group in 1 hour or less. That is right up my alley, right? So I've got 1 hour or less where I'm going to learn some information. I'm a Baltimore business owner. Over here, Rent the Runway is something that I get emails from. Find a wedding guest dress that fits just right. I'm not going to weddings anytime soon. Like it's not appealing, right? So it coming up with content that's relevant. But are there any emails on here that kind of like stick out to you guys? Or any emails you want to ask me about or questions or have comments? And it doesn't matter if it's read or not read. No.
I like the boot savings one.
Yeah, right. What about the be a part of the test 2023? Does anyone have any thoughts about that one?
I'd be curious, like what is the test?
Yeah, right. So it's a little bit of a hook. What about a new business you should meet? How do we feel about that one?
Yeah, I'm into that one.
And then like 40% off flash saving sales are here today only. We've been talking about that damn email all presentation, right? So like that is definitely a hook. Anything on here besides this one right here, because that's actually like a purposeful email. But anything in here that like you have questions about or anything like that? No.
I would be interested in the PayPal account because I do like the PayPal rewards because I do have a PayPal account. So I would want to see what the heck that is.
But so do you kind of see how like different things are appealing to different people in this group, right? So like they're sending this out and it might not be appealing to me, but Heather could get the same email and it might be appealing to her. Chip could get the same. Does that make sense? Is this a good exercise? Okay. So this next slide, my presentation is almost done, I promise. I have it on mobile so you can kind of see now that we're paying attention to the email titles, like where they cut off and why it's important to stay pretty short to the point. And then this video over here, is the video playing? You guys see the video scrolling? Okay. So this is Social Bee. This is a platform relevant to what I do where you can like schedule social media posts and whatever. But they sent me an email kind of trying to like sell me on it, right? Because I don't use them. But I thought it was a really good email because it's very informative. And if I can get this thing to work, I can scroll back, but damn it, sorry. But it talks about the features. It's a very like interface sales email. Like, this is what we do. This is why it's important. Facebook update. So here's some of the content that's like relevant to my industry. Meta's branded content tags are available to all Facebook Reels. Chances are I'm probably going to click on that, right? Tips and tricks. Those are huge for getting people to like start to trust you if they give you tips and tricks that work. And these are all leading to like blogs or third-party places where like you can see stuff. And so these emails, you can send out an email about a blog and just have it direct to your website, and that'll kind of help with your SEO a little bit too. Does that make sense? Questions? Okay. So this is the part of the presentation where I was just going to kind of see if you guys wanted to brainstorm. So if y'all are looking at this presentation, you're just like, what is this girl talking about? Feel free to ask me. Like, if you want to brainstorm some content ideas or some title ideas for some of these emails for you, this is the time to do it. And if you don't want to, that's fine too. I have 2 slides left. One is questions and one is my contact information. So this is kind of the end of the presentation.
Hey, Vic.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to have to jump off here. I have to
Okay.
go meet a client.
Good luck, Ash.
Thank you.
Make me proud.
Thanks.
I said we do have a question here from Rod. Victoria, how is something like "see my latest video" be as a subject line in a email? What are your thoughts on that?
It depends. So if these are people that are already like following you, I think it is worth a shot to see if they'll actually click on it. If these are people that you're prospecting who have never heard of you before, they're not going to click on that because they're automatically going to think that it's spam or a virus or something like that, right? But if Heather sent me an email, because she's with the chamber, I'm very familiar with the chamber, and if she sent me an email that said, check out my latest video, and be like, yeah, I need to check out her latest video. Like, what is she doing, right? But if somebody I didn't know sent it to me, I probably wouldn't click on it. Does that help, Rod?
So Victoria, if I am, so I'm new to the chamber, right? And I've been trying to, email around to introduce myself and stuff.
Mhm.
What do you think would be a good subject line there when I'm truly not trying to sell them payroll? It's just I'd like to meet them and learn more
just
about their
one-on-ones.
business. Yeah.
Sure. So when it comes to those emails, and this is what I was trying to say to Ashley, it's a little bit different than these mass emails, right? Like just email marketing on a large scale. For those emails, you're emailing an individual person. So what I would do is take a look at their LinkedIn, see if there's anything that they're involved in. Then in the email subject line, I would even say something along the lines of just be honest, like, new to the chamber, I'm trying to meet more people, or can I ask you a question? I need your help. I need some advice, like something along those lines. And what it'll do is like, hopefully they'll click on it and then they can read an email where you're just like, hey, I'm new to the chamber. Like, I'm just trying to meet more people. I would love to hear your advice on X, Y, and Z. Like, you need like a hook to get in there essentially.
Right.
And then put in the email, I'd love to sit down and talk, like what time works best for you. And kind of see how that works. Cause I've done those when I first joined the chamber too. I think that's like how I became pretty okay with Heather. I straight up emailed her and was like, hey, by the way, I'm new and I just want to like learn more about you. And that's something that I do too, is when I'm trying to get in front of people who I don't know, and I'm not necessarily trying to sell them something, I just say, I want to learn more about you and what you do.
Yeah.
Like, make it about them. Right. So the subject title could be something as simple as like a one-on-one, even though the title is not much of a hook, but it's because of what you're doing. Does that make sense? So it has to be taken a little bit differently. But yeah, that's how I got so close with Heather, is because I think I straight emailed her when I first joined and was like, hey, let's be friends, right? And like that's okay.
I did that
People
with Heather
expect
too.
it. Yeah.
Hi, Heather.
But I feel like a lot of people, when you're in organizations like this, like you almost kind of expect that. And you just hope for a reply and kind of hope for the best. But if you need more help, let me know. I'd be more than happy to like show you some of the emails that I've done.
Thank you.
Did that help at all, Rach?
No, it does. It's like I never know, like, yeah, whether or not to just be like, I'm new to the chamber.
Yeah, that's literally what I would do. I mean, in an organization like this, like for that specifically, we're here to network. Like that's really like we're here to meet people. And
yeah,
so
I guess I get worried that they're going to be like, I don't have time just to like meet with you just for shits and gigs, but I should just try anyways and see who wants
most
to.
of it, you'd be surprised. You'd be really surprised. I've gotten a lot of good response from people from the chamber. Usually they won't be mean and email you back. They just won't reply. So.
Right. Yeah. They won't be like, get off.
Yeah. Yeah, you're fine. Does anyone else have any other questions? All right. So
Awesome.
that's pretty much it. There's my information.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We'll flip over to that. If anybody does have any questions, feel free to reach out. I know Victoria would love to chat with you. We would love to chat with you. So, no judgment on if your email title is not catchy. We'll open it anyway. We promise.
Yeah, I'm not that much of a jerk. I will actually, yes. But I appreciate you guys letting me come here and chat for a while, and hopefully this was helpful to all of you. But seriously, if y'all have any other questions or want to brainstorm some stuff about your business individually, like feel free to reach out.
Absolutely. I'll make sure I'll send this out to everybody at the end of this call too, so that you have that information. Thanks everybody for joining us this morning. I just want to give a quick announcement. For those of you who haven't heard, Venture Access will be hosting a minority and small business resource fair. So save the date for February 16th. Details are coming, so stay tuned. But it's going to be a great day, just celebrating small business, sharing a bunch of resources, regardless of what stage of business you're in. So it's going to be a really great, fun day to come out, learn some new things, meet some new people. It's going to be a really great event. So save the date for that, February 16th, 2020.